I do not want to talk over you. Okay. For number 1, when you went to solve this, you'd have multiplied both sides by 3. You'd have had y is less than or equal to 36. The only one that's less than or equal to 36 is D. It's equal. These are all greater. So D is the correct answer. For number 2, you'd have divided both sides by 2. It says x has to be greater than 3. The only one that's greater than 3 is D, which is 5. Why can't I mark C? Not equal to. If they'd have had the little line there, I could have marked it. Number 3, if I'd have added 4 to both sides, I'd have had a negative 2x is less than or equal to 15. If I divide both sides by a negative 2, what do I have to do to this inequality? I've got to flip it. So x is going to be greater than or equal to a negative 15 over 2, which is why the correct answer here was C. On number 4, I should have added 6 to both sides. I'd have had a negative 2x is less than or equal to 7. I would have divided both sides by a negative 2. When I divide by a negative, I have to flip my inequality. 7 over 2 is the same as 3.5, or 3.5. It's looking for numbers that are greater than 3.5, but it's the ones that aren't going to make it true. This makes it true, this makes it true, this makes it true, but a negative 4 is not greater, it's what? It's less. So A is the correct answer. Okay? Questions about your bell work? From your homework then, there is 8 through 12. (41) is greater than 6m minus 7. Again, I want to get the variable by itself. I have to undo this subtraction. You undo subtraction by using addition. This would be 48 is greater than 6m. M is being multiplied by 6. The opposite of multiplication is division. I'm dividing by a positive, so I do not have to change my symbol. 48 divided by 6 is 8. Again, I would write 8 is greater than m. They wrote m is less than 8. It's the same thing. Okay? It's going to take an open circle on 8 because it can't be equal. And since the m is getting smaller, I have to go to the left. Number 12. Number 12 says a divided by a negative 8 plus 15 is greater than 23. Again, if I'm trying to get this variable by itself, the first thing I have to undo is this addition. So I subtract 15 from both sides. I have a divided by a negative 8 is greater than 8. A is being divided. The opposite of division is, and I multiply by a negative 8. The minute I multiplied by a negative, my inequality symbol had to be flipped, so A is less than a negative 64. It can't be equal to it, so it's got an open circle on the 64. Since it's getting smaller, I have to go to the left. We good from 8 through 12 now? Yeah, negative 64 down here. It's funny, on my screen it's so clear, and up there it's so blurry in that bottom corner, I forget about that. I remember it when I'm writing it on the board, but when I'm sitting here, I forget. Because it's crystal clear on my screen. Are we all good? Can I go on? Yep. Am I good from 8 through 12 then? There's 13 through 16. Anne Marie? Anybody else? As you're looking them over? What'd she say? 13. So I marked it. 15? Yep. 14? You want 14 too? Or you want 16? I would do them all then. Okay? It's fine. Only that which you think you need to do so that you can do better today, because we're doing more of the same thing. Not going to get new notes today. Number 13 says f divided by 2 minus 22 is less than 48. If I'm trying to get the variable by itself, I've got to undo subtraction. I undo subtraction by using addition. I now have f over 2 is less than, when I add 22 and 48, it's going to give me 70. F is being divided by 2. The opposite of division is multiplication, so I multiply both sides by 2. These would cancel out, leaving me just f, and f would have to be less than 140. It's going to have an open circle on 140 because it can't be equal. It's less than, so it's going to be going to the left. Number 14 says negative 25 plus t over 2 is greater than or equal to 50. I want to get the variable by itself. I undo this negative 25. The opposite of a negative 25 is a positive 25. I now have t over 2 is greater than or equal to 75. T is being divided by 2, so I multiply both sides by 2. And t is greater than or equal to 150. Because it can be equal, it's a filled-in circle on 150. Because it's getting greater, we're going to draw our line to the right. Only if I multiply or divide by a negative number. Did I multiply or divide by a negative? No, so I didn't have to flip it.
So if the what number has to be a negative if it's on
If I'm multiplying or dividing both sides by a negative number, then I have to flip it. That's the only time.
so if the number that's next to the variable is or like
Is next to the variable is negative, then that's going to end up being flipped. All the other numbers can be negative and still not have to flip it. Number 15. 10 plus g over negative 9 greater than 12. Again, if I'm trying to get the variable by itself, this is where my variable is. I've got to get rid of this 10. To get rid of the 10, I subtract it. It's going to leave me g divided by a negative 9 is greater than 2. G is being divided. The opposite of division is multiplication. I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 9. When I multiply by a negative, my inequality has to be flipped, and this would be g is less than a negative 18. It's an open circle because it can't be equal to, and it's going to be going to the left because it says it's getting smaller. Number 16. Number 16 says 25.2 is less than or equal to negative 1.5y plus 1.2. If I'm trying to get the variable by itself, I have to undo this addition. I undo addition by subtraction. 25.2 minus 1.2 is 24, and I might want to write 24.0, it wouldn't matter. Less than or equal to a negative 1.5. Y. Y is being multiplied by a negative 1.5. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I divide both sides by a negative 1.5. When I divide by a negative, what's going to happen to my inequality symbol? It flips. And when I divide it in there, it's going to go in negative 16 times. It's going to have a closed circle on negative 16. And if I look at it, it says y is getting smaller, so I'm going to be going to the left. Everybody okay? Okay. There's 17 and 18. What would I do first on number 17? I'm going to subtract 1.2 from both sides. You do have to be careful here. When I'm putting these together, these are both negative, aren't they? If they're both negative, I add the numbers together. This would be a negative 4.8. 8 is greater than or equal to a negative 0.3. 0.3a. I'd divide both sides by a negative 0.3. When I divide by a negative, my inequality has to be flipped, and this is going to come up to a positive 16. It's going to be a filled in circle on 16, and my line is going to be going to the right because it's getting bigger. I had to because I divided by what? A negative. Everybody good?